You said go?
You're good.
All right. Who here spends most of their time building their business through relationships or has attempted it and then fallen off? Or what does that look like? There's so many different ways we can build a business, but I've always found that the best business and the years I've done the best are the times that I've poured way more into relationships with people than any of like the marketing techniques and all the other things we can do. And so that's where this training came from. I actually, and you can go to the next slide if you want. I came from Minnesota. For those of you who don't know me, I moved here about 3.5 years ago, and I've been in real estate for 20 years. In order to move here, I built a team because I didn't want to lose my business. And somehow I still do a large amount of business up in Minnesota 3.5 years later. When I started evaluating, like, how is that possible? You know, I've had hundreds of people say it's impossible. She'll never make it. Like, that's not possible. Everybody needs you on their, like on their street. And the reality of it is that I pay high level of attention to relationships. So that's ultimately what the training today is going to be about, is how to spend minimal money and really pour energy into loving your clientele and your neighbors and letting that be your vessel for growth. These are just some highlights about me. I re-entered the real estate market 9 years ago now as a single mom of an infant. And I created a business plan around play dates, happy hours, and coffee dates. That was my I was like, as long as every week I have play dates, happy hours, and coffee dates, I will build a business. I actually had my broker at the time. She was like, it's never going to work. Don't do it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it this smart way. And 4 years later, she went on Facebook and said, I'm revamping how I do business. I'm going to do coffee dates. Who wants a coffee date? And I was like, interesting. So it maybe worked. But it was so simple. Like, if you think about it, like, what's more enjoyable and more simple than like doing things you already enjoy doing with people that also enjoy doing those same things. So, yeah, my first year back, which was 2016, I closed 10 deals, and my largest year was 2020, and I did 60 deals, 10 deals to 60 deals, yeah. Which felt like a big accomplishment. That was 4 years, right? 16 to 2020. And I now maintain about 30 deals a year over in Minnesota. I do a couple of deals a year here in California, but that's only because I primarily focus on the magazine Central Valley Growth Producers, which I launched last spring. If you want to go to the next slide. So I think I kind of touched on this a little bit, but why would you want to grow organically? The 3 major reasons. Authenticity builds trust. So if somebody, and then referrals, right? So those kind of go hand in hand, but every time somebody trusts you and then they talk about you, that new person that they're talking to already knows, likes, and trusts you. There's less questioning of your commission rate, or your ability to guide them through the transaction. It makes your work a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. Doesn't mean that you should lessen how much you provide, but it just it gives you an easy vessel, right? And I think it's the long-term success, and that's really where the last 3 years has proven to me. I go back to Minnesota 6 times a year, maybe 7. Every time I'm there, I host events to bring people together, and that's how I spend my energy, coffee dates and events now. And when I do that, I'm retouching base. I'm reminding them of who I am and how much I care about them. And that's keeping those referrals coming and those relationships going. Now, those feel easy for me, and I still do transactions off of it, right? So it's definitely a win-win. So we're going to talk about how we can organically create these types of relationships in a few of the next slides. So I mentioned coffee dates, play dates, and happy hours. And so one of my thoughts is, like, if I love people, if I just continue to come from a place of contribution and love, recognizing their needs and caring for them, they know, like, and trust me, and they want to work together. So whether that's at a coffee date, I never really take people to coffee and talk about real estate. take them to coffee and ask them how their baby's doing, or how graduating college was, or what's their new career, and then they can't wait to ask you back. And it just is really natural, but you also learn really intimate things about people, like things that are hurting them in the hard times. And when you know those things and you can show up for people in such a better way, I feel like that is like the true key, is that it's an informal meetup. It's not like, hey, let's reevaluate your home. Or, you know, let's chat. If the market's shifting, I'd like to meet you for coffee. No, it's like, man, I've been thinking about you and I would love to take you to coffee, right? For me, because I had an infant and I really wanted to be a good mom, I also revolved my business around play dates so that I could bring my kid with me. And he made a really great mascot. And then, you know, one of the key components that I found was signing up for things in the community that I already enjoyed. I figured if I do more things within my community that I like, I'm gonna meet more people who are like me, and it's gonna make it easier to set more dates with people, right? So I joined like Crystal Crime Prevention Committee. I hosted a meal swap group that met once a month with a bunch of moms. I was in MOPS groups. I was on a women's golf league. You know, all of these things where I was gonna be doing something I already enjoyed, but with the opportunity to grow those more relationships, right? So more quantity of people, because if you take the same 10, 20 friends out to coffee, then they bought from you a year ago, they're probably not gonna be buying anytime soon. So you do have to find ways to naturally grow that sphere so that you have enough people to contact for those types of meetups. So this slide is just about like, okay, where do you meet these people in order to have these things? What do you love to do? Like I would evaluate, where are you a cyclist? Find a cycling group, you know, and then slowly get to know each person one-on-one. Are you avidly into your church? Join the women's group there and slowly do one-on-one coffees with everybody. For me, like, man, having a kid is like my best gift.
Is that how you kind of got the coffee appointments, is through a larger mass one, and then you start like?
Yeah, I like build the I would say, like, if I was giving the best example, it would be MOPS. Those like moms of preschoolers. I had 70 members in that. And so I joined that when Alexander was 6 months, and I went for like 4 years before I moved here. Every year you get a new table of 10 moms. And so you're spending so much time with these people, you're actually building really beautiful relationships, and you're like crying and drinking wine, and some days not, right? Like, you're like, and you're like, oh my gosh, me too, let me bring you some coffee, right? It was like really easy and organic for me. And I quickly realized then for me, that meant most of my business was coming from stay-at-home moms, because they were getting sick of their kitchen. And so then you know, you start to recognize patterns. Well, husband's working all the time. These stay-at-home moms are at my MOPS group. I'm the only not stay-at-home mom. They know that. Now we're hanging out in the middle of the day. I'm calling it where they're getting a relief from their kid because my kid's entertaining theirs. And I'm finding out they hate their kitchen, but their husband hates change. Well, you know, that's an easy conversation I can help with. All of a sudden they trust you and they're like, I told my husband we have to use it. And so I was like, okay, my target audience is stay-at-home moms. Like if I just focus on that, I'm good to go. Now that might not be the best audience for everyone, but in my circumstance with a toddler, it just made the most sense. Yeah. And it was a great market to be in because most of those people were like move up buyers. So it was like higher end transactions. So yeah, I mean, I would really focus on what's a hobby you already have, what's something you love, how can you create clubs around that or participate in pre-existing clubs around that. You know, in this area, I found like everybody's in BNIs and Lions clubs, but what's something that's more you, like those are great, right? But like they're meant to be business connections or community service type groups. Find something that like makes you excited to go to the meeting every month. And then for me, at least, I had to join leadership. So once I joined leadership of anything, then I'm more committed. And so then I'm showing up bigger, which then gave me a bigger presence. And in turn, like it created more respect. I learned about myself that if I'm not on the leadership side, I kind of like, oh, I'm tired, the kid's sick. It's easier for me to be inconsistent with. those kinds of things, which I think is fair, and I think true to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And it's human nature, like, I'm not even gonna notice if I don't come tonight. I'm in Lions Club for Exeter, and I haven't been to a 6 a.m. meeting in like 2 years. But when I was on the board, I was at every board meeting every single month, because I felt like I had a purpose, and also it was an evening meeting, it was a lot easier to attend for me. But yeah, like this is where like the honing in on things you really enjoy and utilizing that as your fuel is like, it seems mind blowing, like so simple that it shouldn't be mind blowing, but it is, right? I can wait for that. This is just some key tips that I actually have my team members do during business planning every year. So my team in Minnesota, we are built on, hey, we're not a leads-based team, like that's not realistic. And in fact, I will tell you, like I bought leads last year for them because I thought, oh, I'm gonna help them grow. And at the end of the year, they said, can you please cancel leads? We hate them. We want to go back to the basics. We're so sick of pretending that we're going to want to work with strangers. We want to go back to having fun with people we already like. So one of the things I ask them every year is like, what's a group or club you could join or start this year to help people within the community you want to grow in? One of my team members, we're doing this huge movement on like baby boomer, the seniors that are kind of aging out of their homes and haven't sold or worked with a realtor in 40 years.
Couple of us resemble that.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be, it's so it would be a great market for you, right? Like the reality is I just got certified in as a senior real estate specialist. And the reality is there's like 8 different groups within that category. And some of them start as young as 50. Those are, I'm an empty nester. I don't need 6,000 square feet anymore, right? So it's not meant to be an insult, but you've lived in your home, you raised your family. Now what? Like, how do you protect your assets? I mean, that's a whole market where she's going, okay, that's who I want to target. And some of my crowd is naturally that already, but how do I grow it? So she's creating bingo night at several local, what are they called? Like, they're like 55 plus, they're not assisted living, but like, you know, 55
Senior
plus.
community.
Yeah, where they're used to like group activities being provided, they sought that out, right? And now we're doing like right sizing seminars in the same area, so it's in the local paper, and it's like really hyper focused to a community that 40% of the homeowners have been there 30 years or longer, which is a pretty good demographic for that, right? So that's like way far off from my MOPS groups, right? Those are like very different, but that's kind of my point is, if you find a niche or you already fit into, you're a farmer, right? I don't know, your hat says farmer. Like, go ahead, like, hang out with the farmers, because you already have so much in common with them.
Farm shows next month, by the way.
There you go.
If you've never been, you need to go.
I think I've been, is that the one in Tulare?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, then, it's very big. It's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
First time I was there, I was like, these tractors are so big. I never saw a tractor until I lived here, but no, that's kind of a joke, but I lived in the city. Anyway, so these 3 goals are super simple. Join a club or create a club, right? Or create a group of some kind. Meal swaps was one that I did, and every month we'd switch a woman's house and we would make freezer meals and we'd swap them. So then we'd all go home with 8 meals already made in the freezer with just directions. And as a mom with little kids who never wanted to cook, it was amazing. But while you're swapping, you're drinking wine, you're talking about life, like so many creative types of groups you can have. They don't have to be, you know, what you've already seen before. And then second goal was always a play date, 3 coffee dates, and a happy hour every week. That's what, like, if you're me, that's 8 hours of your time because everything is 2 hours long. But average person, you can make that, you know, 5 hours or less of your week. We should all be pouring at least 5 hours into our business. And those are way more enjoyable hours than my, right? Yeah. See, you can make your spot coffee hours if you wanted, you know, start a happy hour. And then another little thing that I do a lot, it says 5 cards a week. When I started, I was sending 5 cards a day. So they would just simple, like thinking of you, or I want you to know I see you, you're strong, you're loves, you're a great mom, like, whatever. And I would just send kind words, because one, nobody does real mail anymore. And it means so much more, and it's easy, but also it made me happier to like write fun messages to people and show love to other people in such a simple way. You don't even have to have that 1 hour conversation. It's just this quick little note. Even doing it through text is something I got in the habit of. If I wake up and have somebody's name on my mind, I text them right away, like, thank you. Like, people love that, especially if you haven't talked to them in a year. Like, when I get one of those, I'm like, oh, you look so nice.
Yeah.
You said my day, you know, and so I'm think of the impact like something so simple can have on people in your community.
What can guys do that stick? Because if I send a message like that to my friends, they'd be like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah. I think that's funny though, because actually my my husband, he's really good at sending sentimental texts to his friends. He's just a kind of a guy that's not afraid to be a little bit vulnerable, but his friends always, now they get it, right? But he definitely has had times where he's like, man, I didn't respond, that's so weird. And then later they're like, I didn't know how to respond. It was too nice. You know, like, what could you do?
Let's go, Kevin.
You know, the difference too between men and women is women can get away with what they're saying. It's more difficult for men to do those type of things. Thinking of you and was like, yeah.
Well, what would you want to receive from another guy? Like, if
Yeah,
another guy was
thank
with
you.
you, what would you want to receive? The, hey, let's go have a
But
beer?
not thinking-
Or how'd your team do?
I think sports updates is good.
I think it's valuable, I just have to think about later.
What about like funny memes? Like if you got into like sending just like, I thought this one made me think of you, kind of. And I mean, I do a little bit of that on Instagram, where if I see something, I, send it to a list of different girlfriends, where I'm like, oh, tell them about you, whatever.
But don't you think it'd be different, like if I sent a text to Sarah and I sent the same text to Jim?
Well,
Don't say the same
you're
thing.
right, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? It's like,
You have to
men have
personalize
to
it.
target women. We can't target other men, because men don't buy houses. Men don't
See,
sell houses.
you're on that, right? Like,
Women do.
men don't need
Men
change,
do what
women
they're told.
love change. We're like,
And then do a
Yeah.
group text to the spouse and then target the woman
yeah.
in the comment, but make sure the husband get the
You know what
text.
I'm saying? though? There's-
No, I do. I think I might have, on a couple of my next slides, I have some graphics of other things I do, like, so I came from Keller where there was a 33 touch program way back then. Mine's now like a 40 something touch, but it includes things where I'm gifting through like postcards during things that happen in people's lives. So being present on social media to see things happening, like, oh, they had a baby or they got a dog, and sending a dog treat. I have a lot of templates that I'm happy to share too. Like, if anybody wants to reach out, I'll send you everything I have in Canva, and you can do whatever you want with it. But I think that there might be some other ideas for you. And yes, every message you write is gonna have to be different, whether it's like from like honestly, even for different age groups, like a message you could send to me is gonna be different than
Right.
Sarah, right? Like some of my past clients, I'm like, hey babe, right? And then there's other like, hello Renee, how are you doing today? Like, I would never call her babe. That would be really weird, And also on the same token, I don't feel comfortable reaching out to the husbands because it could mean disrespecting a wife and be misunderstood. So there are boundaries that you have to think about a little bit, but I think there's a workaround.
Yeah.
Underneath, kind of like having stuff like, hey, so we were talking the other day, I thought of you, we need to get together for lunch.
Yes.
Dinner.
Yeah.
That just kind of
Yeah.
sparks, at least folks.
I passed this billboard and it reminded me of you, little like things like that. Yeah. Yeah, you have to think about their specific interests in order to get their buy-in to respond, but even just how many of you are sending a birthday video every year on all your clients' or friends' birthdays?
I do, but a video, I do a little bit of content.
Yeah, so I sent for
And
that.
handwritten down.
Yeah, so I have a postcard where I either send them a free nothing bundt cake. So they just have to go redeem that, or to a local coffee shop, free cup of coffee on me. I send that as a postcard. They get an email that just has a little meme like, with a penguin dancing, and that just goes out automatically from my CRM. And then I have an alert and I send like a,
Little video.
yeah, like from my car with no makeup on, I'm like, hey, girl, or hi, Tom, you know, depending on who it is, but it's the, like, even just doing that, that's only once a year. And it's super simple, but how many of you are actually taking in their birthday information and then making sure you do that consistently?
Yeah, I do. Jim does.
Because
I need him. But he doesn't say, hey, babe.
that's really good.
I
See,
think it
that's
is,
what-
I think
this-
it is more difficult for men.
It is.
I really do, because it's easier for women. You know, you can be kind of, where if Jim did that, his friends would be like, "Heck, it's something you know," or
Yeah.
you got, you know,
Yeah, like, I have to be careful with what I say to women too.
the women,
Right.
yes.
Being perceived as too friendly or,
Mhm.
you know, something.
Absolutely. Well, another way you could do it is make the conversation or the text about like, if they have kids, like, hey, I remember you saying Bobby Sue is gonna be in football this year, like, how'd the season go? You know, and then it's
Yeah.
like very family orientated, it's
Yeah.
very non-offensive. And it's also creating a call to action to respond.
What if you guys found out like of your male clients, like what teams they liked, and then when you watch what's going on with football, if they win or lose.
They don't work like that, Sarah.
You don't send a me, like, you don't talk crap about like,
Yeah.
the check on your 49ers friends, cause they're not doing good, like.
Yeah, you could.
Do any of you send out like an
Oh,
onboarding
it's not
questionnaire when you get a new client? So one of the things through Google Forms or Jot Forms, you can do, we did it for a long time, which is why I have more data than I should, and I really need to get back into it, but we would ask like, what's your favorite dessert? What's your favorite beverage, alcoholic or non-alcoholic? That way, like, it just gives me like a bunch of other things too, right? But like, what's your kids' age? What are their birthdays? Because even if you just had that, you could go, hey, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 3 years and now Sam is 15. How's he liking high school? You know, or whatever. If you had more information on the family, you could have a lot more easy access to conversation. Or they're like, I love whiskey, and then you're at a whiskey tasting and you taste one you really like, and you're like, hey, have you ever tried this one? Snap a picture. Like, just try it, it's amazing.
And they'll forget you asked that they answered that questionnaire, and then they'll just think you're a genius.
Yeah,
when you were
Like, wow,
how
they
did she
still care
know?
about me.
Or how
right?
did she know that
Yeah, they kept that in their head. Wow, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
They'll forget.
So how do you, when do you employ that little survey, and how do you keep it from becoming, well, like, actually, it's a little intrusive.
Nosy.
you
I've never had anybody tell me
No.
intrusive. I
Is it-
also,
When they're buying a house from you, I mean,
yeah, I'm
For
buying
example-
or selling. I just kind of outline that like, hey, once we're like, so I normally send it after we're under contract. So like, hey, once we're under contract, I will be sending you guys over an onboarding form. And honestly, it's really so that as special moments happen in your life in the future, I can be there for you and I know your favorite things, because guess what? I'm never. I always like jokingly like.
I'm forever
"Oh,
your agent.
You thought that you were gonna buy a house from me and then never see me again, but that's wrong. I'm gonna be like sending you birthday cards, inviting you to all these events. You're gonna hear from me all the time, and maybe to a point where I feel like she's annoying, but I have people unsubscribe to emails, but I've never had people like tell me to stop reaching out to them. Right? So, cause emails, we get thousands, but when you send a text, you, at minimum, I sent one yesterday to a client that closed 4 years ago, and I haven't even talked to her since. Like, I send her like the invites to events, but I sent her one yesterday because I saw that she was looking at a listing in her neighborhood, and like 3 days ago. So I was like, I didn't want to do it on the same day, and to be obvious, so I was like, hey, and I went and looked at her social media, to see if she was still with her partner, and blah, blah, blah. And I just basically said like, hey, happy 2025. I hope you had an amazing New Year's. I like revolved it all around the holidays that just passed and said, just want to reach out and remind you that if you're ever thinking of having work done to the home, I have all these resources I'd love to share. I
Still
didn't
not
mention-
even buying or
Nope,
selling.
Nope, I didn't mention anything. I just, hey, 4 years ago, I told you I have all these resources. You haven't used any. Homes need updating. Then I didn't even say all that. I just said like, if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. Even, you know, in regards to all these other options.
I
And
think-
she hearted it. So she read it. She didn't go, oh yeah, I'm remodeling the kitchen. But at least she read it and did a response and it brought me back to the forefront.
So all these things I think are so important, not just for getting clients, but retaining them.
Yes,
It's the retention that is really difficult.
I agree.
So next month, here's a plug for our next month's training.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be training on never lose a customer again.
Yes.
And this rolls right into this. It's so important
Well,
that
and
I
it's
am your agent.
Yes,
I'm not a past.
I'm your friend.
You're not my past
Yeah.
friend. You are, you know.
Yeah, my slogan is to be your real estate bestie. Like that's
Good.
You know, we're the BST, those are my initials, because I couldn't be the BS team, because that would have been weird.
Yes.
Right, so I had to like, so we made it like your real estate bestie, and it's evolved to like sign your real estate bestie, and that. And so the idea is friends don't really go away, like especially bestie level, right? Once a bestie level, you kind of, especially as adults, once you find one, they stick around.
Yep.
The last note on this, but I think the next few slides are really gonna tie into that too, because yes, it's important to obtain clients, but really where the value is and why I was even able to write this training is, again, I live 2,200 miles away from my market. And I closed 30 of my own deals in Minnesota last year. That didn't happen by accident. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, because I actually had to go, what the heck, pinch me, why is this possible? And then reflect on what am I doing? And this is why it's possible. So one, though, that note at the bottom is consistency is key. Sending one birthday card 1 year and never doing it again, or one text and never doing it again, or sending it to the wife and not the husband when his birthday comes around. Those things don't get you anywhere. The inconsistency will be your like #1 killer, because they are watching and listening. And if they see you're sending stuff to somebody else who posted, my realtor's better than yours because they sent me a cupcake, and then they didn't get one, like that, those things, they're meant to like continue your business, but they can also crush your business. So consistency is #1. We can go to the next. Yeah, you can see I'm all about love. Just love everything. So you guys can take pictures of this, or we can also send out the slideshow. This is just like a list of a lot of the things I do throughout the year, some of those touches. On the personalized marketing side, we do birthday cards, anniversary cards. Every year I send a pizza at your 1-year home anniversary with a brewery. I have a little partnership with them. Somebody can go redeem a full family-sized pizza. I get like 3 redeemed a month. It costs me $60, but every time they grab that, they actually hold it and then they use it. We're probably than a $60 spend, right? And the others that don't use them, they throw them away. They still saw it and went, man, that's really generous, right? And maybe not all of them, but I'd like to think that most of them think that. We always do Thanksgiving cards. We do a quarterly market update, so every quarter, and when I say we, I do have an admin, and she probably does like the laborious part, but it's still all in my brain. I'm the one who is constantly like, oh, we gotta remind, like homesteading ends December 5th, it's November 15th, let's send out that reminder to all the buyers of this year, or all these like really personal touches, not just our weekly newsletter, which is also lovely, but there's ones with content that people need and want. So we do market like personalized CMAs every quarter, so our clients always know what their value is. We do have like a HomeBot type thing, and we can see when they're looking at it, but we still like to make that touch and send a personalized one. Tips for maintaining your home, helpful resources, like those are kind of boring. Over on the other side though, we do our a bi-monthly postcard to our clients, which is more like a scan this QR code for your neighborhood update. Quarterly market updates, which I talked about, weekly newsletters, homesteading or closing statements we send out in January, so people don't have to go dig through all their paperwork for tax season. For birthdays, we do for spouse and client either cupcake or coffee. The last time we did this training, people were like, but wait, how are you doing that? It's really simple. You walk into your favorite coffee shop or your neighborhood coffee shop and say, hey, I'd like to partner with you. Would you put my card on file? Anytime you redeem one of these, charge my card. They all do them slightly different. One of ours charges quarterly, one charges monthly, one charges on the spot.
Mine does it just when I go in and.
Yeah, so you have
I
like
just
that
go in.
personal of a relationship, but even like commercial companies, like we have Nothing Bun Cake, they're a commercial company and they
They
were
do
like,
it.
yeah, we'll do it. So then they go in, they get their one little buntlet, which is tiny, and they're like, oh, it's my birthday and I have a whole family, I'm gonna buy a cake. And so it really is like a win-win for everybody, right?
Mm,
And that's how you can sell it if you decide to do this. And I have all the templates that I have created, and you guys can have them and change them to your own style. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. Anniversary cards, we do the beer or pizza. I actually do a card, once you go, we call it pending in Minnesota, but basically once you pass inspection and you're kind of like not going to cancel anymore and you've made it through like what we call the tough part. We send a beer, like 2 beers to the client on a postcard, like, phew, you made it. Okay, go celebrate, right? It's just, and I'm just mailing it. It's easy. I'm not having to do it. I used to drop off these like cute packages when I lived there. But people don't care what's coming in the mail or from my hand, and it saved me lots of hours. I send onesies from Amazon. I send them directly from Amazon with the baby's name as the recipient and a card like welcome to the world. I do dog treats straight from Amazon, again, like
When do you send out dog treats?
when so like, I'm not a big Facebook user, but I use it to see what other people's lives look like. So I try to spend like 10 minutes a day on Facebook, just kind of, okay, what's going on? Who's getting engaged? Who got married? Who can I, aside from commenting on their post, what's something little I could send them to their house? Those two get a lot of impact because people love babies and dogs. And if you address it to the dog, and then the dog's getting
But like, what
mail,
occasion do you use to send a dog treat out?
they announce they got a dog.
Oh,
Yeah, just waiting for those like announcements, like, oh, they got a puppy, or they adopted a
Gotcha.
dog, and then I send it
gotcha.
out. Yeah. So it could be like the same week, it might be, I might not notice it for a month, but
We
I
put
still
all
do it.
our dogs' birthdays. Expect to get one for my dogs.
Oh, yeah, I don't do that, I haven't done the dog's birthdays yet,
Yeah, I have 20 dogs.
I even struggle to even
So
do
just
like
send, no.
kids'
I
birthdays.
have four. Just
With,
send,
like,
just
all the
send
kids.
bags of dog food. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Now you use her as your realtor?
Yeah.
Now you use Brittney as
Yeah,
your
then
realtor.
Yeah, right.
Because I won't have to support the dogs anymore.
Oh, that's funny. Christmas card, right, like we do a team photo every fall and do Christmas cards. These are like easy things that everybody should be doing, really, they're semi-automatic, you have the same mailing list over and over once you have it, and then you just add to it. And thank you for funding cards.
I'm assuming after
So
you.
if we
After
go
our
to the
events, yeah.
events,
Another thing, we do send invitations, like, and invitations for our big events that we have. And there is a slide on what kinds of events we do, so you can rip those off too. And then we do the thank you cards, just so that like, even if those that didn't come, they're getting a thank you, they're like, it's still a reminder of, man, I missed this year, but next year I'm gonna make sure I get it, you know? There was one other thing, I'm sure it'll come back to me, I was gonna add to that list. For the next one. So all of this is created in Canva and printed from Canva, so it's just piles. I use Follow Up Boss as my CRM. I've had it for 8 years and I just can't. I have
yeah, we
smart
use
plans.
Sync, so
Yeah, and it's very similar, but
I've used both.
I will not, like, I just can't. I don't wanna
once you
take
have
a
one,
break by
Yeah, it's
transferring
really
it, I'm
hard
like,
to,
nope.
to transfer it.
Yeah, and yeah, cause I like when I was with Keller Williams and they switched theirs and I was like, no, I'm gonna stay, and then, moved on. So these are some of the templates. So it's just like a picture of the brewery with their logo in the background. There's, some of them require some disclosures. And then like the back of the card has our team on it. It just says like, cheers, you're pending, or happy birthday, coffee on us. They're pretty generic, but, and cheap, right? Like, you're not even using an envelope. So, and then your mailman is seeing them. You don't know who else is seeing them.
Would you mind sharing this stuff with like Jackie so that when you start over money you ask?
Yeah.
And then we can maybe get it from you, all right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, cause it would be every file individual.
Mhm. I think
I'm
if you
trying to
make it in a folder, if you're
Can I?
admin, can make it in
I'm
a
like,
folder, in a
I don't know
shareable
if I
folder.
can, but yeah, yeah, I definitely can do that.
The one that emailed me is your admin?
Yeah.
I'll-
Oh, yeah. you
I'll
can
just
respond
switch it up.
there. Yeah, and just tell her that you want all of the Canva pieces for
Yeah.
this and then the next couple of slides.
Mhm.
So these are just some of our mailers, and then we do have custom birthday cards and, closing cards and things like that, but we create everything in Canva and print in Canva, so it's a one-stop shop. I don't move anything to another printing source.
Mhm.
And their print is, I think it's pretty good and affordable. Yeah. The next page.
Would you be okay if I steal them, rebrand them already with the downtown logos, so then share them, the downtown ones?
Yeah, well, yeah, everybody's gonna wanna, so steal them, make a copy.
Yeah,
Thank you. Because everyone's gonna have like, their own coffee shops, their own cupcake place, their own cookie place, right? So.
yep, I'll get the girls on it.
So this is an example of when I talk about events. Events don't have to cost a lot, but they're pretty impactful. And again, I've had to alter these over time because I now live across the country. So, but for example, like the St. Patrick's Day scratch off, there's an image of it on the next slide. I used to do cookies that, like custom cookies and ding dong ditch people, because then you ding dong ditch and then you'd send them a text like, oh, the cookies are at your door. And then they would auto reply to you like, oh, thanks for the cookies. But as my clientele grew, it was impossible to make it to everyone's house. And then once I moved, I needed to come up with something that was mailable. So I actually send a $1 scratch off with a penny glued on it. And that one gets so much, it's $1 and a penny cost per client. But they love posting like, oh, thank you, Brittney, Shull, like it's $5, but they feel, and the posting, it like helps your growth as well, right? So it's such an easy, $1 and a
You
penny.
could do that for birthdays too.
You could, yeah, yeah, you could send that. I mean, like a lot of financial advisors send like the $2 bills. There are services though, if you guys are like, I don't have time to do all this myself. One of the online services I used for a while is called AM Cards. Now you can create custom cards in there, or they have pre-designed cards. They have gifts, gift cards, brownies, cookies, Rice Krispie bars. So when I have an out of state, like somebody who moved to Ohio, I still send my clients birthday present every year. But they no longer get the free coffee in Minnesota because that wouldn't make sense. I now send them an AM card and with like a sprinkled Rice Krispie bar or a 2-pack of fresh made brownies. And it goes out automatically, they get excited about it. And the reason I still do that for people who aren't local anymore is they lived there, so they have friends and family there. And to be like, yeah, I live in Ohio, and I've lived here for 8 years, and this woman still sends me a $7 brownie once a year. If somebody comes to mind and where they used to live, who do you think they're gonna refer? So, and I think I just have an obsession with like giving. I'm very like, I love making people smile, and we don't, like, our world doesn't do it enough. So if it's you, it's going to pay off, right? Back to events though. So I host a lot of events. This is the 2024 calendar that we did last year. Some of these events I'm not a part of, like my team members now do on their own, like the ice cream truck event. Our big ones, we always do a sip and shop right before Valentine's Day. That you could still put on now. We get about 30 women who show up. We kind of make it like, we're gonna drink rosé and we're gonna shop for a new outfit, like a sweet Valentine's Day outfit. The boutique always lets us come for free. They typically provide charcuterie and their champagne. I normally raffle off a $50 or $100 gift card to that store while we're there. So my total cost is $50 to $100 to have 30 people come and hang out with me. So easy, right? Like and the invites only go through text and email, so it's not like I'm mailing anything on that. So your overhead is really, really low. And now I'm guessing you're thinking like, how does a guy do that? You're probably not gonna set up at a boutique.
No.
But you could always do like, a pint at your favorite local bar and be like, I'm gonna be there for 2 hours, swing by, I'd love to buy you a beer, like around a certain holiday, or I don't know. I feel like you could make it into anything. There's a sport you liked, a race. One year I did do like our first 5K. And I kind of stopped running, I didn't like that. I was like, that would never be my thing. I was a wannabe of a runner, it didn't work. One of my favorite ones is the volunteer in beer. In Minnesota, we have Feed My Starving Children. And then what they do is they have 10 stations and you have teams at each station and you compete to build the most amount of bags that will get shipped. So then we normally get like 70 people at that and it's kid friendly. So kids come, they're giving back, everybody's giving back, they're doing something great. They're also competing, which if any of you have seen any of my events for the magazine, I like to do activities within my events and competitions. People show up for that. And then we drive over to the local brewery afterwards and I buy everyone's pretzels and beer and it's probably, I think we spend about $275 on that. But we're giving back to the community as a group. I'm showing my heart. I'm helping you do something you wanted to do, but you just never had time, but now it's here. And then you get beer out of it. So that could be a guy friendly thing.
Yeah.
Volunteer together and.
Greg likes beer.
And then
Yeah, I
drink
like
beer.
beer.
Yeah. Coloring contest to my farm, so I even do this in Exeter in my neighborhood. My kids hang them on doors. And then the kids of the neighborhood color Mayday baskets and then they let the mom text me a picture of it. I say that there's 2 $5 Target gift card winners because what kid doesn't want a $5 Target gift card? But I give a $5 Target gift card to every kid that turns it in because that means I'm invited to come to the front door and hand it over to the mom.
No, yeah.
Right? Like $5, I think the most I've ever had is 10 submissions, $50 or $25, is that? Yeah. I don't know, maybe I'm not, math's not my thing. But it's really low cost and my kids, I get to like pretend they're my employees and make them race through the cul-de-sacs by Sprout Park and hang them on people's doors. And then they submit them because it's a free activity that's worth $5 gift card. Their kid thinks it's amazing. Now you have a new contact. So that's one of those that's like more for farming, less for clientele. You've been iced. This is a good one. In July, we will get koozies with our logo on it and say, says something like the BST team keeps you hydrated or something. And then we leave 2, we do seltzers because we're a bunch of women, but we do 2 seltzers and one with a koozie and a little note that says you've been iced, now ice someone else. And then they're giving the other one to someone else that doesn't know you, who's gonna ask, but wait, where'd you get that idea? Or like, why are you leaving this to me? Oh, my realtor iced me, right? It's super easy, fun, playful, and we always put on the tag, like, tag us on Instagram so we know you did it. And it's just like a fun, easy, playful way to stay relevant, if that's your vibe. Say Cheese is our hugest event. We do that every October. It's actually a free family photo shoot in a park. I have a photographer who does a whole setup. It's also Say Cheese because we do a gourmet grilled cheese bar, which is really gourmet. My lender makes grilled cheeses on griddles. And we serve up, like, people love custom grilled cheeses, and then we have a face painter, which another partner pays for. In total, that's my most expensive event. It probably cost me, last year was our cheapest. The photographer is like $500, and I think I spent like $1,100 total with printing invites and all
How
that.
many people do you typically?
We had 130 at our 3rd annual. Our first year we had 70, so that one's big for me because especially being out of town, I didn't even get family photos this year at all. Like, I am like, man, I helped 50 families get family photos and I don't have a photo of my family together. But it's because it's up there and it's at a park. So the kids, they get in the photo, they eat their grilled cheese, and then they go play. And the parents are like, oh, okay, where's the seltzers, right? And they get to hang and chat, and they've all seen each other year over year. So now they're becoming a community of their own, and it makes it a lot of fun. That one has been a huge hit. Yeah, the free family photos. What I've even had, I had a grandpa come with like a 19-year-old granddaughter to get photos. I was like, that's so cute. So it doesn't have to be like you have to have kids to do it. Socktober, this is a good one. It's kind of like your food drive, but we collect socks for the homeless. And we always create kind of a competition out of it. Whoever gets, like how many can we get? And then we show off like delivering them. to the shelter that we do that for. Other coloring contests, and then, two of my team members do a Christmas party at a distillery, and they do like a costume contest and all of that, that goes off really well. They actually do that, and they advertise it to the community, not so much to their sphere, but to the houses that are around the distillery. So they use that as an opportunity to farm, like, hey, drinks on us, bring a toy for the toy drive, come in your sweater, have a blast, and it, this year was their second annual, and they had like 35 members. Like I don't think that's a big number. And it also shows that people are craving getting out, people are craving community, they want to do things, so this is a great time for you guys to be the vessel of that. And if you're the vessel, they're gonna show up, but they're gonna already like you because you're giving them something they're craving. Any questions about events? Anybody doing events that have been really successful?
We do our own events.
Yeah, I know you
But
do.
I don't think. Yeah, I think Ronnie did
the photo one.
the photo one because I went and I took my dogs.
Yeah, see, I've had a few dogs too. That's cute. Yeah, if you wanna go to the next slide, I think there's a couple more examples of the graphics and different things. So we print out that, I'm so lucky to have you, and that's where we put the scratch off.
We should do that.
Where do you mail off the sketcher, or do you go drop it off physically?
We mail them,
Okay.
because we actually send like 100 and, I think last year was 150.
So do you mail it in an envelope, or do you actually mail it in like with a postcard kind of?
I mailed it in the envelope because it has the scratch off taped or glued to it, and then like the penny also. So it gets a little heavy, but we order them as a postcard out of Canva, and then we order them with the free envelopes that come with it. So all we're having to do, or my admin's doing, is just labeling them and sending them off.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like an example of our sip and shop, and some of the details, and that's our guys up there making grilled cheeses, our little, we've been iced with a koozie. Just a lot of fun examples of easy ways to gather, and I don't know, I just would rather do business if I'm having fun while I'm doing it.
Same.
And then also I would rather sell to people who already like me. And I don't have to sell myself too, right? Like we're walking in the home and I can joke like, ooh, that's where they keep the dead bodies, and not be like, oh, you're gonna get sued for that. Right? Like, I can have fun, and that makes life more enjoyable to live.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, you can go to the next one. So outside of events and postcards and all of that, you guys all got this 100-point success day. And, we're all looking for ways to stay consistent every day and feel like we're working. Do you guys ever feel like, man, I'm a realtor, I'm doing all these things, but am I really working? Like, that's something I've always struggled with, is like, my life is too fun to call it work. And then I would get like all anxious with myself. I won't let myself watch TV until after 5 p.m. still, because I'm like, no, it's the work day. Which is crazy. Like, we work on weekends and nights. Why can't we take an hour off in the middle of the day? So I created this, and my team uses it. It's just a really easy way to be like, hey, if I intend to do a 100-point day every day and use this as my template, like, which of these do I want to pick today? And some of them are even self-development, right? Like reading, working out. Some of them are really high points, like a closing, and so then, oh, okay, I had a closing today. I don't need as many tasks. Or if I send out 5 cards, I get 5 points for each card I sent out. Now I'm like really getting somewhere. I think it's easy for us to say be consistent, but how many days do you like log into your CRM and you're like, well, I don't have any tasks today, so I guess I'm done. This kind of gives you like, well, what are all the other things I could be doing so that tomorrow I have tasks in my CRM to complete. And another thing I wanted to add, if you are like, I don't have clients' birthdays, how do you obtain them now? Well, past clients, you could probably just ask. You could probably email and be like, hey, I'm starting a new program. I'd love to gift you a cupcake every year for your birthday just to help you celebrate. Do you mind sharing your address? That's one way. You could start the onboarding form for future people. When I initially got back into real estate 9 years ago, I went on Facebook, and every time I saw people had a birthday this month, it didn't matter if they were my client. I got ignored by plenty, but I didn't really care. I would just write and be like, hey, I would love to send you something special for your birthday. I see it's coming up. Would you mind sharing your address? And you'd be surprised at how many people say yes, and they just want something special.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. You know, you get a few that are like, are you? Right? But yeah, I think the key is, you know, be authentic, like, make sure you're doing things that actually bring you joy.
Yeah.
Because people can feel that, and it's gonna come out of your energy, and you enjoy it more, you're gonna do more of it, you're gonna be more consistent, and it's gonna convert into business. And then nurture consistently, so just constantly touching base with people. And I'm gonna plug probably something Sarah says all the time, and I say a lot, be in your CRM. Like, put notes on your clients, make sure the people you're talking to's names are in there. If you're not using your CRM, it makes it way harder to do any of these things, because then you go to, okay, I'm gonna do an event, well, I don't have anyone's information in one singular place. That makes it quite complicated, and then it's overwhelming, and then you're not going to do it. So.
I noticed on your list, you don't have anything on that list that says how many strangers did you meet today?
That's a good
You
one.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause that's that's my thing.
Yeah,
In fact, yesterday, I was driving around Exeter trying to find our office and couldn't, so I got out and parked and walked the streets and met those two young ladies over there.
Well, instead of phone call with someone new, meet someone new.
Yeah, I saw.
and
that.
we can send
I
you
did-
the editable version of it too, if you'd like, and then you can make it however you want. This is just like hey, if you were really wanted to revamp your business this year, or you signed up for all kinds of things you were gonna do last year and you never did any of them, which we all have been there, like, I've been there too. How can we start fresh? This is just an easy way to be like, okay, I did things today that will build my business. And then at the end of the day, all of these activities aren't about building a business for right tomorrow. These are all about like you wanna be in business 5 years from now. These are the kinds of things you do to get there.
How many, I mean, this is just I'm okay,
Yeah.
I'm talking to people, I talk to strangers constantly, but when you go grocery shopping, are you in and out?
Well, I live in Exeter, so there is no in and out, that's safe.
Hey,
Right?
I spent an hour in the grocery store.
20 people in line.
Well, not only that, but you cannot go to that store without seeing somebody, you know, even if you kind of know them and you don't remember their name, you have to do
So
stuff.
what about the person you don't know, right? So you're standing there looking at cream cheese and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot the ingredients, and you look at this lady. Did you know how to make chili on? I mean, I do that all the time. All the time.
I think it's brilliant.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I do
But
that.
Jackie knows that walked in the parking lots and came back and sang.
That's awesome.
So Greg Curry he has this level, high energy and manifestation.
Yeah.
That the day he wakes up and says, I want an escrow, he just steps out and says, I want an escrow, so the phone rings, they're like, hey Greg, I want to list my house.
That's amazing.
He just puts it out there, it comes.
Do it every day, and then.
No, I don't want
He don't do it every day, it's too much work, he can't work that hard.
Twice a year is good.
I do, I think it's really important to smile at people. I think that like when you walk in through the grocery store, we tend to get really busy and our faces can look uninviting. And my kids will make fun of me because they're like, oh my God, you're always smiling and friendly. And I'm like, doesn't it feel better to just like have your cheekbones tight? Like.
It's true.
It feels
People-
nice, right? Like,
Grocery store, it's like people go there and just like zone out.
yeah.
Like they don't.
I'm
even- it's like,
listening to true crime, like.
You know?
Yeah.
No, I'm totally like,
Yeah.
so I get where you're coming from. I don't or I love asking people or just like saying good morning or asking people about their day before they do, because it's their job to. But when
Right.
you put your words out first, like, actually, thank you, that's pretty good. I'm almost done. You know, like it's crazy how caught off guard people are by you being kind to them first. And you're not being paid for it, right? Well, I mean, maybe we are because in the end, if bring another client. Okay, there's one. Oh, it's just, you don't need any of that.
I'll be nothing.
Huh?
Yes.
But I truly though, I've had several people since the last time I did this, reach out to me on the side, ask me about like further details on some of the events that they're particularly interested in, or Other online resources for gifting that, cause there's a couple apps that are right on your phone to do that. I'll use if I'm in a pickle, like even like, oh god, it's a team member's birthday and I never, like, I didn't pre-plan and order them something, and so then I'll just go in there and send a pinata full of single shots or, you know, whatever, like depending on who they are, you know.
426.61.
Okay, let me know that. But yeah, was this helpful? Was it encouraging?
Very good.
It's very foo-foo-y, but honestly, it's like, I swear, it's the most exciting way to run a business. And honestly, I would say like that, this method could apply to any business you ever start. I've helped a roofing company build up his business by sending birthday and thank you and thinking of you, like seasonal cards and having events. I only think that the only reason, I mean, not the only reason, I think Real Producers is successful around the country, but honestly, I believe that the reason I was able to build it so quickly here is because I pour the same kind of like energy into people. And, I was just talking about that, and I'm like, we need our CRM to tell me when their birthdays are, like, I need birthdays. Give me more contact points. She's like, can you put them in your Google Calendar for you? I'm like, dang it. But yeah, I think like everybody wants more love, like, let's be the vessel of getting it out.
Do we have any questions?
They just said loved it.
Everyone's so.
Susanna laughed at someone's point. I'm assuming one of Greg's.
What's that?
I was like, Susanna laughed at one point. I was like, I'm assuming one of Greg's points.
Well, you know, you have to be comfortable in your own skin too.
Yes,
So these are great points, and even one of those points works for somebody.
yeah, just one nugget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
just gotta
couldn't
find
implement
what-
all this at once.
No.
Sure.
Right.
You gotta find what you're gonna do consistently.
Exactly,
It's not about doing everything, it's doing what you're gonna do consistently.
right? It's easy.
Like, honestly, I love this a lot for like my days where I feel like, did I do anything worth it?
Yeah.
Like, there's things you could do to quickly make you feel your
Like
day
productive.
was productive.
Stacy, like, man, I don't know, many times I'm starting to feel down on myself, like. I don't even know where to start, like, oh, I don't have any tasks in my CRM, I haven't put contacts in there. Like, now I feel overwhelmed, like, where do you even start? Just
Yep,
Thank you cards or texts, sweet texts are easy to do, like, start there.
yep.
All right, well, thank
Thank
you so
All
much.
right,
Yeah.
thank you, everyone.
Talks about it.
So on another note, I'm just gonna throw it out there, Saturday. I know some of you probably know this about the little Tilda.
Yes, we're going.
Good, and we're going to, so, she's a little girl that fell in a swimming pool,
Uh-huh.
and so they're doing a fundraiser for her. Easy.
Because I think it's the medical equipment she needs
Right.
is extremely
It's very
expensive.
expensive. But yeah, if you wanna donate anything to that, you can go down to Jane RD and just. It's so-
later.
Yeah, she's in that area, yeah. I know her family, her immediate family. Give it, any little amount help.
It is a good event. So, getting back to all of this. This is the key thing is we need to all have our database in order. So I'm challenging you guys, let's get to a race to 100. If you guys don't have 100 in your database, let's get it there by the 31st of January. I'm gonna go in on Sync and see what you guys have. So there's no hiding from me. I'm gonna see. And then if you already have 100, let's try to go to that next level of what we've got. In February, I'm gonna be training on, training from the book, How to Never Lose a Customer, which goes right along with this. And again, let's talk about it again. Atomic Habits, 4DX, all of the 7 levels of communication, all go, right? They all fit, they all interlock, what Brittney's saying, all of this stuff goes with it. It's not about atomic habits. It's not making big, huge changes. It's small changes consistently across the board.
And what's genuine you. Well, Brittney never couldn't hit it better is it has to be you. So like how Jim said, it might not, this comment won't work for so-and-so. Find what works and put yourselves in the shoe of the other person. What would you want to
Find what you are comfortable with
Mhm.
and what you will do consistently. If you won't do it, it's like the whole farming aspect, right? You know, I've got an agent say, we're gonna send out, 1,000 postcards and it costs $1,000. And they get no response and they do it once and they never do it again. I'd rather see you pick a small farm, 50 or 100 people, and send something out every month. Do it for 12 times consistently to that same group. So this is what it's all about: consistency, what works for you and what you're going to do. Because if you really listen to what Brittney said, it's grown. The events have grown. Started at this. Oh, now there's this many people, so you've got to put the time and the consistency. Okay.
And don't be afraid to piggyback off the office events, but don't be afraid to create your own. Just as long as you're consistent. All right, you guys.
Have a great day.
Who's got the best sign in town?